Welcome to the Living Your Genius show with me, Donusia Lipinski, unlocking your power within. This show ignites your inner spark and empowers you to live a life filled with purpose and passion. Join Dr. Pat and me as we embark on a journey into the transformative power of your thoughts, inner genius, and creative imagination. In each episode, we deep dive into the realms of self-discovery, practical insights, and actionable strategies to unlock your full potential to thrive in all aspects of your life with grace and ease. Whether striving to overcome challenges, cultivate resilience, or pursue your passions with purpose, the Living Your Genius show is your go-to place for personal growth. Let's deep dive and unlock the power within to manifest the life of your dreams.
Hey, everybody, welcome. Look, I'm Dr. Pat, and I have the honor of doing this incredible show with the most amazing Donusia Lipinski. But here's the thing. We've done a lot of shows, and what I'm finding is the message is more than powerful. Today, this particular episode is from Darkness to Dawn. It's a journey through the soul's trials. What does that mean? You know, what happens during this episode is we're going to delve deeper into some of life's most profound experiences, things that happen in our lives. And in the moment, we cannot make sense of them all the time. However, when time goes on, we're able to look back and we're able to ask ourselves, you know, one, how did I make it through that? And two, how am I different now? What have I come away with? You know, have I grown? And I will tell you all right now, anybody that has gone through any change whatsoever, it doesn't even have to be dramatic, but change that you may think is insignificant, we're forever different. And we're different in whatever way you see. Today's show, though, takes us through the signs of a crisis journey, but more importantly, Donusia is going to show you how to get through them. What are the tools? What can we use? You know, Donusia, great show, great topic today. But this is one where we really take a look at the dark night of the soul, or as you're calling it, into the void. So let's start to look at what that means. You know, when we say dark night of the soul, into the void, you know, what would that mean? And what are some examples that you've gone through with that?
Well, I love what Carolyn May says about it. She says the dark night of the soul is a journey into the light, a journey from your darkness into the strength and hidden resources of your soul. And I know that you and I have talked, Dr. Pat, about the different times that we've gone through really challenging times. And it's what did we get from it? And I think now, today, more than anything, because of the turmoil that we've been through the chaos that we have in our life, all the different challenges as far as the environment goes and the politics and the divisiveness, like it leaves a lot of people feeling really shaky and on shaking ground. But so some people, a lot of the people that I'm talking to are feeling the sense of hopelessness, meaninglessness. What they thought was going to happen didn't happen. And so there's this feeling of just like going into the depths, into the void of what is life all about? And on a personal level, I know that you and I have both gone through those moments where we just thought, holy cow, like what? I don't know what to do with all of this pain, the depth of the pain. And so the dark night of the soul really is about that journey where we are into the void, but what do we do with it? And so I'm so happy that we can talk about that, the crisis, the trigger, the crisis, the tips and the tools, and then where do we come out on the other side of it?
Yeah, I mean, this is there. Let's just start for where we are today. And if you're anything like me, you know, you work with different groups of people. I work with young people in addiction and recovery, and you kind of watch where people are as we move into, you know, 7, 8, 9 days past our election. And so for a lot of people, there's going to be a moment of remembering, right? like millions of people. And so the question is, what happens? What do you do? And it's fascinating to me. If you can look at your life and look at the thing in front of you and still ask yourself the question, what is mine to do today? You would find amazing things. For example, in the youth group, was calling me at 4 a.m. a week ago.
Yeah, a week ago.
A
Yes,
week
I
ago, 4
understand that.
a.m. They have now taken on a different perspective. And so, how do we get a different perspective? And, it's interesting what you said and what Carolyn May says, because, you're coming through the dark night. What are the triggers? Major life changes. Let's talk about them. Because what's the reality of some of these, right? The reality for this young group of people is I don't feel like I have any power control. So we get together as a group. This is a real thing that happened. We get together as a group, and certainly in the middle of a lot of people just taken in so many different emotional. So we get together, and I said, well, why don't you all start to look at different things, take a look, see if you can make sense out of the numbers. So right away, they're very interested now in the numbers. And out of that, as a group, we discover an anomaly in one of the races. And so now I'm managing a group of people that found an anomaly and have tried to call every person they could, and they can't get through. And so, how do we manage this? Is action an antidote for things, or is it a placeholder? And I want to ask you that question because you have some experience. Now, I'm taking something that's very fresh, what, a week, 10 days old. Actually, the anomaly thing is only over the weekend. But now we're managing the frustration that's compounded by the fact that here these people are, these young people that discovered something, and they can't get a single person to answer the phone. And, in life, that's what happens to us sometimes. It's like we go through major changes and there's nobody there to answer the phone of need and help for us sometimes, is there?
But when you're in the void and you feel like the rug has been pulled out from under you, and you feel like everything that you believed and thought about life is no longer true, there is a process. You have to feel all of that before you can heal. And we find that, if we continue to resist and look at the us and the them, the polarity, that we never allow ourselves to see that there has to be some good in everything. There's a divine intelligence in everything that happens, even though I don't know at this point, I can't see, I don't know what it is. And so for my colleagues as immigration lawyers, I'm reading their texts, I'm reading their Facebook posts,
Oh,
and looking for solutions. What are they going to do? I look at my clients. I know the fear that they're feeling because they felt it before.
yeah.
But if we focus on all of that, all of what we don't love, all of the stuff that we hate, because there is this process of hatred and anger
Yeah,
and
there is.
helplessness and feeling like just bereft, like, what are we going to do? But we have to feel all of those things. And so to embrace the darkness, and on a personal level, going into the void when I went through probably the darkest time of my life where everything fell apart, I remember falling down and saying, why me? And what I heard was, why not you? But I didn't have these tools. I didn't know where to go with all of this pain, right? I didn't know that there were things that I could have done to help me other than I knew that my recovery, the way to get out of it somehow was a spiritual journey. And so when we look at what's happening right now, not only in our country, but all over the world, there are people, I mean, we have to respect that there are differences of opinions and that there is this us and them, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting. This morning I was at a meeting, and it was fascinating because there are some people that are obviously, they feel very differently than I do. And I was a little concerned about like seeing them, not concerned, but I just thought, what is that going to be like? And the way that this one person reached out to me was saying, hey, we're still good, right? I still love you, right? And it's really about looking inside and just realizing that on the
Yeah.
human level, we're all connected. But what we're going through right now is like, holy crap. Like, what do we do with all of this unrest? Where do we find some salve for the soul?
Yeah. This is the question. And we're talking about what's recent to us, but let's just expand that to why this became so important. What are the triggers that it hit? For many people of my generation, it hit triggers of old. It hit triggers for especially women, that come from my generation and generation before. They're looking at, oh my God, we fought so hard for A, B, C, D, whatever that is. And yet life goes on. I did a show yesterday with the host. It was called This Too Shall Pass. And I grew up with that. My Mama Doris, that was her thing. This too shall pass. And we heard that so much. We never believed her until we did believe her. And so we have to really talk about now, how do we navigate this journey within? Now, for this group of people and myself, we are calling everybody on the planet we can, Howard Stern including, everybody to say, look at the numbers. There's an anomaly. And, we're just saying, look at the numbers. They don't make sense to us. And so these younger people, I started to work with them when they were kind of teenager-ish. Now they're in their 20s, right? But they love to look at the common sense of things too. And so what is the therapy? Yes, you look within, but sometimes when you look within, it doesn't mean you don't do something.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
That's the point I want to talk about.
yeah, absolutely. This is all part of the growth, right? I mean, when you get to that pain point and you feel the helplessness, we're either pushed by pain or we're pulled by a vision. That's Reverend Beckwith, right? And we can either become victims, which is like it's happening to me, like, oh, poor me, poor pitiful me, or we don't have to let the circumstances control us. We can have the fear, but the fear doesn't have to have us. And what you're talking about, Dr. Pat, is having people who are feeling the overwhelm. They have to feel it. They have to see it. They have to feel it. I mean, that's the void, right? But then it's like, all right, so am I going to be a victim of this? What's my mindset? What am I doing with this? Am I going to dwell on them and how horrible whatever it is that's out there or whatever I'm feeling is happening to me? Or am I going to do something about it? And so, yes, I applaud these young folk that are looking at that are taking action, because having a vision of what you would love to have in the world without any action is just a vision.
Exactly.
Mary Morrissey says a vision without action is merely entertainment, right? But you have to, so we have to, it's essential that we're on this frequency of like, of this is what's happening in our world. This is what we would love to have. We would love for women's, for whatever the issue is, for whatever the social group is,
Mm-hmm.
love to have, we don't want to go back to what we were before, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to up level who we are. And so it's essential that we have the vision, but then we have to
Mm-hmm.
take action.
Yeah. And, I want to say something because 4 years ago, I did the same show for a different group of people. And you see, the way that I was raised is we're all humans, we're all people. And it would have been hard for me to not do a show 4 years ago for the people that didn't win 4 years ago, because their pain and their trauma and their dark night of the soul was equally important. And I want to be
Amen.
very clear about that.
Yes.
You know, we're happen to be talking about now, but 4 years ago, I was talking with a different group of people who had different issues, who were concerned about different things. And look, so long as you could come to the table peacefully. I ran a clip from a show, and Emily, I don't know if you still have the clip from Sidonia, the two ceremonial circle clips you played during my show the other day, because I think they're worth playing. my mentor passed away in 1999. This is a woman that she wrote, by the way, no matter what you hear people say, this was the first woman that wrote one of the most important books on ceremonial circles.
And who is that?
Donusia Cahill. My mentor changed my life. The woman changed my life. Went on my first vision quest with her. And then, my life path was going to be, this is the deal. So how does trauma affect us? Here we go, folks. So I made this woman, and on a weird situation. I'm working for a consulting firm. I'm still in school. It's 1996. My boss is like paying me to fly back and forth because he's got a big gig in Snohomish County up here. And he says, I want you to go on this vision quest. I'm like, I don't even know what that is, by the way. And I'm like, okay, all right. And so I meet Donusia. What an amazing woman. And he says, I want you to go and I want you to steal all of her ideas and bring them back so we can run our own vision quest for corporations. Yes,
Wow.
steal. Basically copy and write down everything she does. Okay. But that's not what a vision quest does to you, nor was I ever going to do that. But that 10 days in the desert changed my life. And since thereafter, I started to work with her on how to do vision quests for executives. As a matter of fact, I looked at all the data we collected and I ran the next vision quest. So you see, my path back then was clearly not necessarily going to be back in corporate America. I even knew that then. But then she passed away in 1999 on a trip that I was supposed to be on with her, very abruptly in a car accident. And so your life changes, but yet you're forever changed by this person, you see. And so she had a beautiful approach to bring people together, and I saw her do it. She did a circle at Chernobyl. I want you to hear these clips, and then we'll go to a short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how each of us can navigate the journey within. Because right now, we're getting a lot of requests from immigration lawyers that used to do shows with us to do shows again. We're also getting requests from people to launch our political channel. We're also getting requests, ... Why? Because there is action that we can take that is not harmful. Emily, if you have those clips, please play them back to back, and then let's go to break. And when we come back, we have to embrace the darkness, but we can do it through the softness. Emily, please.
You do it through the light.
Issues that are coming up in their situation. What would you do?
Well, I'd ask some like-minded people to come and sit in a circle with me. And we together would figure out how to organize the circle and what we wanted to accomplish, what we needed.
Just on a practical level, how would you go about doing that? Who would you think of putting in the circle?
Well, I said like-minded people, but you actually might want to sit with people who had viewpoints and attitudes that were different than yours, so you could really start hearing each other. It depends on what you want. But you just choose who you want to be with.
Say you're having trouble in your work situation, that you're having trouble with the environment. And
we're going to go right to break right now,
Emily.
Emily.
To start discussing that in the
Welcome back, everyone. It's so great to have all of you. You heard from my mentor, Donusia Cahill. You can look her up. You could look up her fabulous book on ceremonial circles. She left this earth way too soon for me, but I have to tell you, in the time I knew her, she changed my life. She was the reason that I didn't go back into the corporate job where I really agonized about what the purpose in my life was to be. So how do we go from darkness to dawn? How do we have a journey through soul's trials? And, we're talking about a couple of situations that happened to us in life, but there's more to it than that. How do we, first of all, Donusia, how do we find out more about you, and how do people get to work with you? Because yes, you do this show, but you're a phenomenal coach. you're offering guidance, you're offering direction. You help people discover their purpose, their vision, their mission, all of that. What is the best way for people to find out more about you?
Yeah, I love working as a transformational life coach. My business, Grace and Ease Life Coaching, just go to my website and they can easily schedule a consult with me, or just text me at 843-340-5083 and say, I'm Ian. And I would be more than happy just to have a discovery session, a clarity session with them to really get to the core of what they would love to release, and what they would love to have more of in their lives. And at this time, there are so many people, Dr. Pat, there are so many people that are really feeling the heaviness of what's been going on in the world, not just because of last week, but generally,
In general, yeah.
right? And so it's one thing to feel, so what comes up, what feelings come up, right? What are the triggers, right? Right now, and we're talking about the chaos in the bigger sense. It's the anger, it's the resentment, it's feeling like I was let down. Like, how could they? How can so many people feel this way? And it's like there's that disbelief. And on both sides, like there's not, like, we can't listen to each other because the polarity and the separation is so great. And so if we keep on pushing against all the stuff that's not happening, we're just going to have more of that push energy. And what has to happen? I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, which is, we know that from every adversity, and I would say there's a lot of adversity going on in individual people's lives, like, what is that seed of good? And I love what Carl Jung says, is that I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. And so who do we become in this process of pushback, of anger, of resentment? Who do we become when our lives are impacted directly by what's happening? When we can see and feel the pain that so many other people are going to be feeling. When we feel the anger with our families. I saw a headline that, people aren't going to be having Thanksgiving dinner with
Yeah,
their
I saw
family.
that. I read that.
Yeah. And so what do we do with those feelings? And so there is a lot of work that can be done on a personal level, but we first have to have the awareness of what's going on. And then I think, Dr. Pat, it's just really important to realize that we're not victims of this. Because if we're victims, then we don't get into action. And then the stressors, and then all the other stuff. This is really a great time for reflection. I mean, just to center ourselves as to what is it that's mine to do here.
Yeah.
We're just going to be reactive as opposed to responding.
Yeah.
And name calling and feeling all the other stuff in whatever situation. But the triggers could be a loss of a job, could be a diagnosis, divorce, a loss. Dr. Beckwith talks about it just as being a spiritual abandonment, right? Eckhart Tolle talks about loss, any big change, any major change where we feel like the bottom has fallen out.
Yeah. So let's talk about tools and tips and what we can do about it. Now, I just gave people an example of this incredible group of people, and they're off in a direction. I pointed one thing out to them, and they started to check every state voter pattern. They really are too much for me to keep up with right now, but they're educating themselves. You see, it's not just checking the votes and seeing if there are more anomalies, which they already found in Pennsylvania and other places. But we're not experts. But these are young adults that are looking and saying, wow, is this a way I can be involved? But it doesn't dismiss how people feel. Let's talk about this, because we've got to address our feelings. 4 years ago, I don't ask my clients how they voted. When I work with people, and I pretty much work with women, I do have a few men I work with. They've insisted. And I will work with anyone. But part of that work, I don't ask you how you voted. And as a coach, you're Switzerland. Is that right? Switzerland. You're the neutral party that's going to help people find the solution they need in their lives. 4 years ago, my phone was equally busy.
I love that, right? That you and we and many others look at 4 years ago, other people were very angry and upset, right?
That's
And
right.
the tables are turned, and this is what's happening now in our life. And again, I know, I don't know what the good is in all of this. I just know that at some point, this all has to happen. Now, does that help me? Oh, let me just go back. So I can get into the terror, like, oh my God, like how, you know, I mean, we have to say it, right? In any situation, whether it be a diagnosis, like, holy crap, like, what am I going to do with this? The overwhelm, the disappointment, the abandonment. It's like, what is my purpose here? Like, so I love that you give voice to both of them. And yes, the neutrality is there, but the bottom line is like, what is the pain point? What is
Yeah.
the source of that pain? Because you can't.
It's fear.
You-
I mean, let's talk about where we are. Not every situation we're talking about the dark night of soul is fear, right? You know, when you lose someone you love, let's just talk about this for a minute, because it isn't always this. And I wanted to say for those of you out there that no matter what you read, I don't care what article you read, losing your job is up at the top. So I just want to say, may not be like losing a child, right? We'll admit that.
Oh,
But
but
losing
there's
a
no
job,
comparison. Yeah.
divorce, these are things, but it doesn't even have to be that drastic,
No.
right? But this is where you have to understand and recognize how you feel. Isn't that part of what you do? And then the mindfulness piece, Donusia, talk about that, is how do we bring ourselves back to the present moment?
Well, just what you said. Just what you said. You bring yourself back to the present moment. So I mean, some of just the tips and the techniques, again, I really want to emphasize that you can't put a Band-Aid on this, right? And just pretend like it's not there, right? And I totally agree that it's not about and I remember when I went through all of my stuff that I would compare, like, well, this loss was maybe worse than my loss. It's like, no, like
Yeah.
I'm on this journey, and how it impacts me is different than the way it might impact other people. But the tools, like the mindfulness, right? Just realizing that you're not a victim and you don't have to react, you can respond, taking that step back, meditating. One of the most helpful tips, journaling, like getting all those feelings that are like doing motorcycle
Yeah.
rounds in your head, like just getting that down on paper.
Mhm.
And when words don't work, dancing,
Mhm.
going for a walk, going for a walk in
Ping
nature.
pong.
Ping pong. Okay. Pickleball.
Pickle.
Pickleball. Okay. Contact sports, but walking in nature, like just spending time
Yeah.
and just being amazed at that we have these seasons.
Yeah.
Right. And for other people, it's using the creative part of ourselves, because we can't always express what we feel, but using the creative part, artwork,
Yeah.
painting, right? Movement.
Yeah.
Sometimes just reaching out to people, articulating what
Yeah.
it is that we're feeling, because when we can articulate it, there is such a freedom in that.
Yeah.
And so whether it be our words and doing what we can with what we have from where we are.
Mhm.
So what you were just sharing, Dr. Pattis, is the taking action, right?
Mhm.
Finding an anomaly and then like saying, oh, let's take a look at this.
Yeah.
And so it's the taking action, it's the journaling, it's being out in nature, it's pickleball, it's ping pong, right?
Yeah.
But really just the time is a time of reflection.
Yeah.
Just a time of going inward and saying, and it could just be you have these moments, it's like, man, I thought this is what I was supposed to be doing, but you feel the sense of like life may be great on the outside,
Yeah.
but you feel like there has to be more. The sense, the meaninglessness of your life, just like there has to be more.
There does. And see, this is the thing we're talking about. Like there are things that come out of whatever life event is. I know we're talking about the election here, and I just want to say that there are elections that are still not called, and there are people looking at different things. But I want to encourage everybody that may be listening to this, get the heck off Kamala Harris's back now. And when I say that is there's acceptance Awareness and acceptance are like these two peas in a pod. When we go to blame and finger pointing, and it doesn't have to be about an election, right? You know, last year I almost lost Linda, my best friend of a long time. And, you know, I got back there the day just in time, the day, because many people didn't think she'd make it from May 19th to May 20th. But I dropped everything and I got on a plane and I could have gotten into so much blame. Like, why didn't you do this? Right? And I would have taken my eye off the target. What is the target? Help my friend get well. And if I'd have spent that day in finger pointing and arguing and finding who the scapegoat is, she would not be here today. But I didn't spend my day like that. I called everybody I knew. I called Mary Jane Mack, Dr. Darvish, Dr. Martin, Dr. Sharon Martin. I called Pam Bright to do a fabulous healing light circle. I called Reiki. That's what I spent my day doing, and they did. And in the end, the light prevailed.
That's it. That's it, Dr. Pat. The light prevailed. I mean, the blame game. I mean, the blame game is just, the stress, right? So how do people even know that they are in the dark night? They're not sleeping. They wake up in the middle of the night. They're into the blame game, right? They're physically feeling stressed. They get diagnoses. When they feel like they want to isolate,
Mm-hmm.
when they don't want to be out in the world anymore, when stuff that they used to love to do no longer has the same effect on them. And yes, and so when there's a situation going on in your life, I love what you did. Like you didn't blame Linda, you didn't blame anybody else. It's like, no, like you took action, right? You felt the pain that you felt, right, with the potential possibility, you took action on that.
Yeah.
As opposed to getting stuck in the morass of all the what ifs
Yeah.
and the
And
blaming.
And let me ask you this, in your journeys along the way to becoming you, and I know there's more going to come from you. I know there's more. There are things we can't announce or talk about. There's certainly things that you're getting in your head. You're certainly getting ideas about what might be a next thing for you. This is what brings me joy. I get the honor to work with someone like you. And every time I do something like that, my whole team, Emily is running this show and she had those clips right there. Nat is our new producer and he has been here like not even 2 weeks. And I think Emily will agree. He has really jumped on board and he is digging in and he is learning and he is doing. You know, Jessica, who's been the rock here, Linda, Kim, Chris, you know, I have a sales team, Tara, Alyssa. These people have waited years for us to be where we are. You know why we're here? Because we stopped the finger pointing. Oh, the pandemic. Well, no, the pandemic had us rework everything and I got 2 new knees. Well, you know, we hired this person, they didn't work. Everything we say, we manifest. So isn't that part of what you help people with, Donusia? Is not just how to be emotionally, but how to speak onto it.
Oh, so I just want to point out, when we look at the pandemic, right? And
Mhm.
all the seed of good. You said I got 2 new knees. Is that what you said?
I did, I got 2 new knees.
I mean, looking for the seed of good, right? Some people complain about it. Well, but in everything, I think that's the thing that's most amazing to me is that if you just know and just trust the process and just know that in everything that we feel is negative, like there's always something good. I got to share this with you.
Yeah.
So we've been out of our house for a little period of time because we had part of our dining room ceiling caved in. And so part of that has meant that my office had to be totally redone and everything was like poured out and putting it back in. So I had to order a new desk. The new desk came yesterday, but it was delivered and it was 150 pounds. So there, Stuart and I are at like 7 o'clock at night trying to like move this 150-pound desk into the house, and or the box into the house so that it could be put together today. Out of the blue. So I was thinking, oh, this is so like, how are we going to do this? And we did the best that we could. We got it to the front door, but it was like really just too heavy to take it the rest of the way. Out of the blue, I hear this voice coming from the driveway saying, hey, do you need some help? It was a 14-year-old kid who saw us struggling and who came to help. So the feeling of overwhelm that I had about having my whole life turned around, it may seem small to some people, but it's been a process where my life has been kind of turned upside down. And to have this desk, my anchor, coming back into the house and feel it was like too heavy, and to have this young being of light come and help. So the seed of good was seeing this incredibly young, vivacious 14-year-old wrestler help us.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just an example of like looking for the seed of good, that pandemic, right? All the people that have lost lives, how their lives have been turned upside down, but look at how we have become more mobile, right? How we can communicate, how people have been able to work at home with there's a seed of good in all of this. I don't know, Dr. Pat.
No, that's it.
The seed of
That's
good
it.
is in this. I don't know what it is, but I know that there is divine intelligence in this. And if
Well,
I could focus on that, as opposed to all the naysayers and all the fear mongers and all of the negativity, we are our thoughts, the power of our thinking, the vibration that you were talking about, Dr. Pat.
exactly. But here's what it is. Let's talk about this for a minute. For those of you out there that are extremely disappointed, I want to tell you something that's very interesting. I work in the world of change management for organizations, and so do you. To do what Kamala Harris did in months, to turn a party whose energy at best was mediocre, and to take that energy and activate it to the point where it went. It's not the end, it's the beginning, because you're breathing new life into people that have a voice but may not know how to follow it. And that's what other parties have done in the past. That's why they are where they are. And yet here we sit today. It's not just about that, but look at your company. Look at your company. Is there something in your company that you'd like to see done better? Is that journey within you to change? Are you tired of the pink slip syndrome and worried about if you're next? How about your relationship? Boy, I'm telling you, people are like, no, I'm not having Thanksgiving. You read the articles of what's happening in families and relationships right now. They're breaking up over this. They're like, oh no, I can't live with you. Right? Now, Donusia, let's be realistic. If you're breaking up with somebody over an election, that relationship was probably on rocky ground.
So let's go to the pain point, right?
Let's go to it.
So things, it's like a boil. Things come to a head, and there may be one situation, it's like, I can't do this anymore, right? This is like, this crossed the line. But if we leave that relationship, then we never really heal from that which was the problem to begin with. And so it's essential that we look at what is going on in our lives, do the reflection, do the journaling, when it feels like there's nothing left. When we feel lost and hopeless and there's no place to turn, get support from friends, get support from a therapist or from a life coach, or from your spiritually, get a mentor. But if we just keep on going in the direction that we're going in, then we just keep on going in the direction that we're going in, and we stress and collapse and blaming, and the fear goes on and on. And so we're in a very interesting time. I'm talking about in the world, because chaos, right? And in the world of chaos, like chaos begets more chaos unless we do something about it. So
Mhm.
what are we thinking? The blame game? I look at the joy, right? Like look at the joy that we got to experience, whether just smiles and the effervescence. And so, but we are in this trying time, but what do we do with it? So the dark night of the world, right? The dark night of the world soul, right? Not only in the US, but all over where people are really suffering. And again, what would we love to experience in the world instead,
Mhm.
right? Joy, peace, love, understanding. And yeah, there's going to be ups and downs, but what's mine to do in it?
Yeah.
I think the first part is just really getting in touch with you. When you're really in a dark night of the soul, you
Yeah.
don't feel like reaching out. You don't feel like it's the cocooning, the loneliness. It's not depression. It's like this sadness.
Yeah.
But if we don't
There,
think about it, we just continue the cycle. But there comes a point, right? And we can have a lot of different times in our lives we feel the dark night. I'm sorry, Dr. Pep, what were you saying?
No, I would think what you're saying is I want to piggyback off of that because this is a time to really find the group of people that you can relate to and talk to. There's a lot of negative things that get said about the 12-step program. There's one thing you can't negatively say about them. This is a place that people come together that share like-minded pain. And this is a place, and it has been for like a long time, almost 100 years now. But there are places in the program where you literally can reach out to another person and that person listens to you regardless of what you have to say, because it is about a singularity of purpose. There are other groups. Mark talks about a group, a grieving group, which he belongs to. The thing that I want to encourage people, and I think, Donusia, you can talk to this, is if you decide to take this journey alone, whatever the journey is, a loss of a job, a loss of a person, whatever is causing you that pain point, maybe something that happened 20 years ago, I don't know, whatever that is, taking that journey alone, that is a real hardship.
No, taking the journey alone, I mean, it's called the dark night. We're talking about the void because it is. And you can stay down there if you want. I mean, it's a choice, right? And there are tools, but that's where the awareness comes in. There are tools to do something for yourself to help you, but just to have the awareness that I'm having what some might call a dark night of the soul. I'm feeling so I just like I don't really feel like living. Even though you may have on the outside, it may look like you're successful and happy, but if you're not feeling fulfilled, if like the bottom falls out and you wonder like, what am I doing here? And I think that world events can make you feel like, wow, like life doesn't look so good anymore.
No.
And so unless we do take some of those steps, the awareness, the journaling, the mindfulness, the taking the step back, getting support, dancing, and it's realizing that we have this power within us that's greater than any circumstance, and that we're not a victim of our circumstances. And that everything that happens is like there's a seed of like, there's something in here for me to learn. When Colin died, right? I didn't know what it was. We're talking about coming out of it. I didn't know what it was that was mine to learn. I didn't even know that there was a thing called the dark night of the soul back then, right? But coming out of it, like that was like, what a gift. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, right? I wouldn't wish, but I'm so grateful for what had happened, right? Because I would not be the person that I am today if I had not gone through that adversity, through that dark night. So it's like, what is the gift that was there for me to receive? And I think that's the clue, that's the key, that knowing that we have a dark night, but the dark night doesn't have to have us, that there is the dawn. I love this saying, embrace the journey, for it is through the darkest night that the brightest star shines. I love that because that's, darkness isn't, you turn on the light, there's no more darkness, right? You look at the butterfly. right?
Yeah.
And the caterpillar, like
Yeah.
what their journey, the emergence of the light of the dawn. So again, Rumi said that the wound is the place where the light enters you. And so we come into this world, we come here to grow. If we're not growing, we're dying. And so it's not always pleasant, but there's always going to be the ups and the downs, right? Because that's part of the journey. That's part of the dark night. And so I'm grateful for the dark nights. It's not fun to be in them, but it's what we learn and who we become in the process.
Boy, it also helps shape our lives, doesn't it?
It also what?
Helps us to shape our lives.
What
I mean, that small time with Sedona Cahill altered the trajectory of my future. I didn't know it at the time, but it did. These are the moments that if we can find that sparkle place, that thing that you can find beyond your fear, beyond your doubt. I mean, it's the Rumi poem, beyond the field of right doing or wrongdoing. I'll meet you there.
I love that.
And I think that what you're sharing today is so powerful and you are passionate about it. What would you say to people, and especially how might people work with you if they are in a situation they just can't move beyond? How can they work with you on that?
Well, I would, again, just getting in touch with where they're at. What is their pain point? What would they love to have instead in their lives, as opposed to what's going on, to have the clarity to making a decision. And so I would invite people to reach out and let's talk. Let's talk about where they are at Grace and Ease Life Coaching. They can email me at danusia@danusia.com. That's about as easy as it gets, except for the spelling of my name. Or just send me a text and I'll get back to them, 843-340-5083. But if you go to my website, you'll see the different offerings, but more importantly, it's like, let's just set up a time to talk. Let's imagine a life that's different from whatever dark night that they're going through right now. I've been there. I know that there's light. I know that there's the darkness and then you emerge into the light, and the gift isn't what you get from all of this. And so there's this wonderful quote by Maya Angelou. She says, "You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, it may be necessary to encounter the defeats so that you can know who you are, what you can rise from, how you can still come out of it." So darkness is not the end. Darkness is the beginning of a new dawn, of enlightenment and spiritual awakening. And who we become, Dr. Pat, on the other side of it is stronger, wiser, more resilient, more giving, more loving, and more happy, and more happy, and more happy, and happier.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for bringing this conversation in this show and shining a light on this. Again, please let people know how they can work with you one more time.
Yeah, just go to Grace and Ease Life Coaching. Danusia@danusia.com is my email. Set up a consultation with me just by going again to my website, and they can text me 843-340-5083 just say I'm in, and let's talk.
One more time for that number to text.
843-340-5083. Dr. Pat, I want to thank you so much for this conversation today, and just for taking it where it needed to go, which is, let's not hide from what's going on in the world. And let's be open that there are two sides, right, to the discussion.
Yep.
And that just being open to, it's not my way or the highway, whatever that expression is, right? It's just really about being able to listen and to appreciate that we're not all going to agree. But at the end of the day, we're all like, what would love say here? What would love do here? What would God do here? Right? So
thank you so much. Wow.
Thank you, Dr. Pat.
Nothing else to add to that. Thank you all so much for tuning us in, turning us on. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching the Living Your Genius show. Unlocking Your Power Within with me, Donusia Lipinski, and Dr. Pat on transformationtalkradio.com. We are here every fourth Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific for practical insights, inspiring stories, and actionable steps to unlock your full potential and manifest the life of your dreams. Your journey to living your genius awaits. For more information on how to design the life you deserve and unlock the power within to live a genius life, visit graceintoeaselifecoaching.com. That's graceintoeaselifecoaching.com. See you next time.